make this first ever video just because after that display I saw this afternoon by Tennessee basketball, thought it was warranted. I'm also joined by Ron Finger Garfield, my guest star, who's just going to be chilling back there. So, what I really want to dive into is what I think a lot of Tennessee fans are feeling right now, and it's just kind of like the disappointment of Vol basketball so far this year. So, what do I mean by that? I mean, outside of that Houston game, which was, a great win, we'll see how good it was by the end of the year. We have really just kind of underperformed pretty drastically against power competition, power four competition, rather. And so, if we just go into this, I'm going to switch over to my monitor here. Pulled up our schedule again. No offense, to these smaller universities or schools. Pretty efficient when going up against inferior competition, and we did have the one kind of huge win against Louisville. So I'll give us that. I'll acknowledge success where success has happened. But really, what I've noticed, right, is, again, the inability to close out these tight, close games. And really what that boils down to, in my opinion, is it's not just one player, so we're not going to point fingers at just one player. However, I do think it's important that we're honest with ourselves as to what we're seeing. And let's just kind of dissect this. If we jump into the Kansas game here, we can see Nate actually had a relatively decent game. 8 from 8 from free throws, from shooting those free throws, 20 total points. Okay, so 5 of 15, we'd like to see that percentage a little bit higher, but I'm not going to necessarily fault him there. Let's go to Syracuse, a true away game, one of his first away games, if I'm not mistaken. If we go down here, we're doing it live, to the box score. 2 of 10 from the floor. That's just not going to get it done. If you watch this game live, the score is a little bit deceiving. We were down 15 points late in middle of the second half, but we were able to cut that lead down. But again, 2 from 10, 11 total points, 7 turnovers. 18-year-old kid, so we'll give him grace. Hopefully, as the year progresses, that will improve. Let's go to our next true loss here. Illinois. Again, let's go over to our box score. Go down here. Nate Ament, 9 total points. 4 of 14 from the floor. No three-pointers made. 1 of 2 from free throws. 2 total turnovers. So again, we're seeing a young player making young player mistakes and not being as effective as we would like. But then that leads really to tonight, where it was a close game up until late into the second half. But again, if we go into the box score, 13 total points, 1 turnover, 5 of 11 from free throw land. Why am I bringing this up? I'm not here to be a negavol. I'm not here to bash Nate Ament. But what I do think, what we have to understand is Nate was paid a large sum of money. I think it was speculated to be anywhere from $3 to $4 million to close out this recruiting battle against Duke. We are actively looking for return on investment. So if you invest that kind of money into an 18-year-old player, you expect them to come in due to the nature of the scouting, right, and have an immediate impact on the game and on the team. You know, look at Boozer at Duke. Heck, look at the A-Cuff kid that played tonight for Arkansas. Where's he at? If I'm not mistaken, he is a true freshman. 29 points, 8 of 9 from free throw. He did have 4 turnovers, but again, I'm not expecting Nate Ament to go out and have 35 points a game and 15 rebounds. I'm not expecting that. But what I am expecting is you're 6'11". You were paid millions of dollars. I'm expecting you to get in it, and I'm expecting you to get dirty, right? Push up against the person next to you. Drive it to the basket. If you notice when watching the game, Nate does a lot of standing around, right? Or at least that's what I've noticed. You know, plays that are designed for him, we do see a hesitance for him to shoot those shots. I'm hoping by the time we get to March, you know, he is more of an efficient shooter and more of an efficient player. But we're entering into conference play. The warm-up period's done. You know, we're how many games through? 14 games through. We're almost halfway through the season. And we haven't really seen any progression from Nate. So what is this other than a Josh complaining video about kind of Nate Ament? The pieces around him have to continue to get better. You know, JP Estrella, especially with Cade being out for the remainder of the season. JP has to be more physical. I do think there's a hesitance for him to be physical because there is in the back of his mind those injury woes that he's encountered. And I understand that. There's a natural hesitation there. Our guard play is improving drastically. So we've got, you know, Gillespie, shout out Greenville, Tennessee. We've got Bishop, who's doing really well. But beyond that, especially Berg, is not a true point guard. So what we're really missing right now is a backup point guard when Gillespie's winded, when Gillespie's in foul trouble to come in and orchestrate the offense. The free throws as well. Oh my gosh. 52% free throw shooting. Let's take a look at some of our other losses here. If we go to and take a look at Illinois', take a look at that box score. That's 44% from free throws. And then let's take a look at Syracuse as well. 53% from free throw land. You're not going to win games if you can't hit free throws. I'm not sure what Rick Barnes does to fix this, but a team that cannot hit free throws to ice a game is not going to win meaningful games, and it's not going to make any type of run in March. So the season is largely in front of us. You know, just look at the team we just played in Arkansas. You know, they started last year 0-5 in conference play, and they made a Sweet 16 run. Now, that's Calipari, one of the greatest coaches to ever do it. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but what I am saying is with the money we've invested, with us failing to do the simple things, and our lack of depth in some of our more key positions, I do have some real concerns about, I don't want to say necessarily making the tournament, but making any type of meaningful run in the tournament. My solution would be it's time for Barnes to bench Ament. I think, it's make him earn a starting role. I think right now he's starting because everybody knows he was likened to Kevin Durant, $4 million player. projected lottery pick in the span of just 14 games. I think we can all say this guy's not getting drafted in the NBA. He's not. No one's going to take a flyer on this. Can't hit shots when it matters. Can't hit free throws. Not physical. He's very raw right now. But if you're Rick Barnes, motivate him. You know, there's still development that can occur. I do think by the end of the year, I think he'll be a much better player than he is right this moment. Again, he is 18 years old, and I'm fully aware of that. But we cannot let the entire success of the team hinge on this one individual, because that's what we have done for the last few games. So I'll always love my Vols. I'll always be positive. I'll always, trust Rick Barnes and what he's doing. But if we're just being realistic, there are some very troubling signals coming out from that basketball team right now. The SEC's not near as tough as it was last year. However, if we want to make any type of meaningful run in conference and hopefully in a tournament, now's the time we have to make adjustments and put ego aside. I do trust in Rick Barnes to make those changes. So, again, never made one of these before. Wanted to drop this. If you have any thoughts or comments, please put them below. I'd love to hear what you think. What's your thoughts on the current state of the program? What do we do with Ament to get him going? So yeah, drop a subscribe, like, comment, and as always, remember, go Vols!